We are witnessing the most significant border crisis in our nation's history. America is effectively falling at the hands of the Biden administration and Joseph Biden, a man that we can't even necessarily is cognitively capable of doing the job of President of the United States. Over the last couple of days, there have been a handful of more lives lost at the hands of illegals, that being part of accidents in traffic, cold-blooded murder, and we are going so far as to allowing them to have firearms. While the American government would like to take your firearms and your ability to protect yourself away, the Biden administration and the Democrats are considering allowing them, as stated, to have firearms. This should be extremely alarming to everyone, not just me, not just conservatives and Republicans. There's a deep, dark plan at play here that we have watched unfold over the last 3 years with nothing said or done about it by anyone who has any power whatsoever. We're going to cover a couple of the stories that broke over the last couple of days. Most alarming, it may be even more alarming than potentially having illegals legally allowed to carry a firearm when they don't have any constitutional protection, is that of a known terrorist. We know there have been tens of thousands of terrorists, people on the terror watch list, who have come across our southern border, and whether they were apprehended or caught and identified, or they were arrested and detained for a period of time, catch and release is an understatement. A known terrorist was just arrested in North Carolina, not far from where I am. So we're going to get into that and a couple of other things, but most importantly, we need to call this what it is. It is an invasion being allowed, endorsed, encouraged, and perpetrated by our own government. If you aren't familiar, the entire election and how our government is constructed and how many votes a person can get in an election is based off of the census, the American United States Census. You allow millions of people into specific places where they are effectively harbored and quartered. You change the structure of our elections. You change how many votes and delegates a county and district gets, and a state and a city. So there's so many things going on. But I think that to talk about Joe Biden would be, and to give credence to the bloodbath he's perpetrating and not the bloodbath that they framed Donald Trump for talking about, which was a total hoax. Just like every other time they say something about Trump, it's typically a hoax. I think that is a disservice to the people who have lost their lives because of illegals being allowed into this country, walk right across the border, and being allowed to stay here and get free health care, housing, potentially even your house. The government would rather you be homeless than an illegal be sent back to their country, repatriated. So, yeah, I think we just need to acknowledge those who have lost their lives unjustly. Their lives were cut short because of the negligence by the Biden administration and Democrats the world over. Her name is Laken, not Lincoln. Sorry, I misspoke. The killer is not illegal. He is undocumented. That's the correction Joe would make. Instead of correcting her name, Laken Riley, a name he probably had never even heard up until, maybe he heard it, but he didn't remember it. So up until the State of the Union, he hadn't said it. So, and I don't think any of the American citizens who have lost their lives necessarily matter to Joe Biden, so long as they can get the votes appropriate to win this election. Surprisingly, he's still in the race. However, first thing we're going to touch on here is we're going to look at the known terrorist who was just arrested in North Carolina, Awet Hagos, 32, from Africa, an area near Yemen, was arrested after a 4-hour standoff with sheriff's deputies in Gates County about a week ago, after allegedly firing shots outside the Quick Stop convenience store in Ure, where he worked. Hagos was charged with 3 counts of assault on a government official, 3 counts of resisting a public officer, and 1 count of carrying a concealed weapon. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement got in touch and said that after running his fingerprints, it determined that Hagos was on the terrorist watch list and had been in the area for about 6 months. Not necessarily your neighbor, but someone living very close to you could be on the terror watch list. You don't know. None of us do. Because there's no disclosure of these things. Without X, we wouldn't know. Because the media, we know, will not cover it. Now, Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson of North Carolina addressed this and demanded that the Biden administration immediately disclose all information regarding the recent capture of an illegal alien, Alwet Hagos, flagged on the terror watch list.
Last week in Gates County, North Carolina, an armed illegal immigrant was arrested who is on the federal terrorist watch list. His name is Alwet Hagos. Reports indicate that Hagos came into the United States from Haiti, but is originally from an area near Yemen, a known hotbed of terrorist activity. Police were called to the scene after reports of shots fired, and when deputies moved in to apprehend him, Hagos attempted to disarm a deputy before fleeing. It took law enforcement over 4 hours to finally apprehend him. After learning of this incident, I spoke with Sheriff Ray Campbell of Gates County. I was briefed by him on the situation and thanked him for honorably discharging his duties and for the courageous actions of his deputies. More importantly, I promised I would do everything I could to assist him. At this time, the suspect is currently being held and has been charged with 3 counts of assault on a government official, 3 counts of resisting a public officer, 1 count of carrying a concealed weapon. The Gates County Sheriff's Office currently has 12 deputies, yet they find themselves dealing with a violent illegal immigrant that our own national security has flagged as a potential terrorist threat. Earlier this morning, my office sent a letter to President Biden. I called on President Biden to give immediate answers. In the letter, I raised questions such as,
or did he just walk
how did
across?
Hagos enter the United States? How did
What we are dealing with is a government that has completely thrown out the goodwill, or the complete consideration of Americans feeling safe and having a good life. All the money that we're spending on illegals and all the money we're spending in Ukraine could have been used for Americans and improving their lives. Homelessness could have been ended. That's an industry in itself that they need to keep and prop up, and they need all of us to be drugged to a degree, and that's why they give free drugs out. That's why they don't care that fentanyl is pouring across the southern border. And let's not forget about the fact that there are Chinese nationals affiliated with the CCP that have come through the southern border, just like our friend here, known terrorist, and nothing's being done about it. It's actually being encouraged. So pray for the people of North Carolina. Pray for the people of this country in general, because this is we are actively being invaded, and our government is doing everything they can to ensure that we don't have any free and fair elections anymore. As we know, if you go watch the other videos that I have on my X or YouTube, Google's been doing as much as they can too over the last couple of years, over the last elections, and we have the data, we have the evidence. Now, Biden's border bloodbath, well, I think that they dug their own grave and they're having to lay in it now, because they swindled and hoaxed again with what Trump was talking about was the automobile industry, the auto industry at his rally, and they specifically cut it. Imagine this, the Lincoln Project, someone affiliated with Abraham Lincoln. That is a farce. It's a completely anti-American company. And you know the rest. I mean, all the rest of the pandering Democrats who try to get political talking points, no matter the cost and no matter how true, they all went through it with it as well. Keith Olbermann, etc. What do we expect? Now, here's another situation that, again, I don't want to talk about Joe Biden at all. I don't think he deserves the air that comes out of my lungs. He doesn't deserve any of our attention. He deserves to be discredited, and we move on. What needs to be talked about are the people who lost their lives. Illegal immigrant mass shooter that killed 5 people, including a 9-year-old boy arrested in Texas. Can you imagine? Can you imagine your child, your son, getting ready to hit that stride in life where they're just growing up daily like my daughter, and you see it happening right in front of your eyes, and you're so excited for the next day and the next year and the funny things they do and the funny things they say, and then they're gone forever. It is the most heartbreaking thing that's happening under our president's watch. We're going to touch on something here in just a moment involving Texas, just like this, that should make your blood boil. Like this video, subscribe on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, and on Rumble. This information is what needs to be heard. So share the video as well. Whether you share this or you share the same talking points or share the same stories, what matters to me is that we continue to raise awareness. This election is potentially and almost definitely the most important election of our lifetimes, easily, but potentially in the history of the country, that we have a government now who wants to stay in power, who is completely subverting our constitutional republic. And yes, we are not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic with democratically elected representatives. Constitutional republic. Big distinction. A democracy would suck.
Including a 9-year-old child. Fox News' Kevin Cork has the latest on this story. Kevin, what can you tell us? We've been following this.
You're right. You and I have been talking about this, Lawrence, and we're just following the latest information that we've just received. Francisco Oropesa, 38-year-old Mexican national who has allegedly killed 5 of his former Texas neighbors. He apparently was out shooting a weapon, being very loud and belligerent, apparently drinking. The neighbors went outside and asked him to stop shooting that weapon. He then, in turn, took his AR-15 and allegedly slaughtered a family of 5, including a 9-year-old boy.
Bloodbath. These people have no respect for our institutions, our traditions, our laws. They don't have to. They came here criminally, illegally, and they're here as criminal aliens. They don't care about our lives. They don't care. There are a lot of them that are good. Now, it's not something that you can necessarily generalize, but the people who are here, like this man, like the terrorist, they don't care about American values. That's the point. Assimilation is a good thing, and people who come here legally, or come here on a visa just legally through the proper channels, they value American traditions. They're not trying to come in and raise hell. And like this guy, drinking outside, shooting an AR-15, and just mows down 5 people, including a 9-year-old boy, because they don't care. If they cared, like this guy, they wouldn't have waltzed in and been acting like an idiot. If they cared to be here and they were worried about getting kicked out of the country, they wouldn't be acting like this guy did. It's breathtakingly, but unbelievably disgusting. And look who we have here as well. Ted Cruz. Love Ted Cruz at times. Others, very aggravating. Now, 2 more stories that just make me sick. Travis and Flint posted earlier, because this breaking story is to no one's surprise, while the Supreme Court has been making constitutional decisions lately based on precedent, this flies in the face of our Constitution and in the American people's well-being. Happening now, the SCOTUS has extended the stay that blocks Texas police from arresting illegal immigrants after the Biden admin sued Texas to stop them from arresting people who illegally cross the border. Yes, you read that correctly. The Supreme Court and Joe Biden are stopping Texas from protecting themselves from an invasion. This comes the same day as a federal judge ruled illegals can carry weapons. But you can't carry a weapon. You go to New York City and you figure out what happens when you just don't want to be an American citizen carrying a firearm without it being completely legal and having the documentation, especially if you're in places that are blue cities, blue states. But they would love for an illegal to carry one. All of them. Let's arm them so that they can vote blue no matter who, so that they can get government benefits for free and have no obligation to this country at all. Oh, and they're not paying taxes. The taxes, the very same taxes you have to pay so you can buy a house or buy a car or buy anything and not get chased down by the 87,000 armed IRS agents that the Biden administration brought in. Do you not see the trend here? It's like, how can you not see communism when it's right in front of your face? We're being invaded, and our government is arming them. This should lead to the impeachment of a majority of our federal government. It's clear that they're America last. No kidding. Do you feel safe in Biden's America? Do you? Lastly, this is the coup de grace of liberal Democrat insanity and hypocrisy. An Obama appointed, imagine that, anti-American Obama appointed judge, an anti-American former president, federal judge just ruled that illegal immigrants can carry guns in the United States. I want you to read that again slowly. This is TPV John, the Patriot Voice, fantastic account. And tell me how we are not being set up for some serious action on our own soil with armed foreign invaders. This is a communist ruling. Hey, yeah, exactly. Which is sure to purposely embolden criminals that are coming over our border by the millions. Very scary times. So the guy who had the AR-15 that killed the family of 5 and the 9-year-old boy, all their lives cut short. I'm curious to see what happens to him. It is in Texas, but if we know what just happened in Texas, according to the Supreme Court, he may receive an award. Illegal immigrant can carry guns. Federal judge. Ruling from U.S. Supreme Court means the attempt to ban an illegal immigrant from possessing firearms is unconstitutional, judge concludes. But that Second Amendment that you revere so much, that's there to protect you or allow you to protect yourself from tyranny. Well, this is starting to seem a lot more like tyranny to me in our government. Stay prepared, folks. The Archer Angle live stream will be back tomorrow night. Tonight we were super busy, and I'm preparing for a huge interview this Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Dr. Robert Malone, the man who created the mRNA technology in the COVID vaccine. And no, he did not develop the COVID vaccine. He has been on a brigade since the COVID vaccine came out and on a brigade against the authoritarian regime at the top of global leadership. It's going to be awesome. I look forward to seeing you guys there. That will be streaming live on Rumble, X, hopefully YouTube, and Kick. I look forward to it. I look forward to seeing you guys again tomorrow. Again, live stream tomorrow night. Should be starting around 5:30 or 6. And yeah, we'll have a couple more segments coming up tomorrow morning. The news cycle is hard enough to cover in the live stream, so we'll be releasing videos starting now on each of those platforms a couple times a day. So thank you for tuning in. If you aren't subscribed or aren't following, follow, share the video, like and comment, because this is something I'm extremely passionate about, not just the illegal hubbub and bullshit, quite frankly, going on, but spreading truth and information, no matter the cost. Can't wait to see you guys again tomorrow. Have a good rest of your night.